Welcome to my tutorial. This tutorial is broken into 3 sections, so if you're here for a specific step, you'll need to click the Drumblanket logo and it will take you directly to that step. If you're here for the Xbox One cut, you will need to go ahead and watch the first video I made to see what items you will need. If you're here for the custom paint job and the LED and USB install, feel free to pick up these items that I'm about to show you at any Radio Shack or hardware store. Go ahead and pick up an adapter plug label in, a coaxial power jack label in. You'll need blue painter's tape, you'll need electrical tape, a 3/8 bit for a drill, a 3/8 drill bit. You'll need a 13/16 spade bit, LED strips, which I will provide a link for. You'll need wire strippers, a USB port. You can pick that up at the Dollar General. You will need wire. You will need a small screwdriver, and you will need a 12-volt plug with 1.5 amps. Make sure 1.5 amps, and whatever paint you need. Beginner soldering skills are going to be needed. Yes, beginner, intermediate skills. Get yourself some thick plastic if you want to put some decals on with your paint. You're going to need a wet sponge to use with the soldering iron. You'll also need a good pair of wire clippers. You can use wire ties as well. Again, you're going to need a 3/8 drill bit. I'm showing that to you twice because that's important. And you're going to need a soldering iron. You don't need something as elaborate as that. You just need a soldering iron and a good solder tip or backup tips as well. If you're here for the Xbox One and PS4 cut, then this section of the video is for you. Again, you will need the items that I listed in my first video, so please stop this video and go and watch that and find the items that you need and come back. I am using a piece of PVC, 4-inch PVC, about 1.5 feet long, and I start off by marking a line at 13 inches from the top. This is marking the bottom of the cradle. You will then take your blue painter's tape and wrap a line around that to basically make a straight edge. Again, that's something from my first video, and it's very easy to do. And you can see that I used the controller to measure apart about how long, how far apart the grips are, and made a small lip here that's basically going to act as a stopper for this controller. So marking from the top down at 9 inches on both sides of the PVC and creating a line with the blue painter's tape, you can start to see that the cradle is taking shape here. I'm marking at 1.5 inches above that blue line, creating my lip, and then wrapping around my blue painter's tape, creating the bottom of the cradle. You don't want the tape way up, because if you do that, you run the risk of the controller falling out. So you want a nice, slightly angled surface there. I do, however, recommend that when you do this, make sure that the spine is thicker than the one that I'm showing you. Don't know exactly how far apart that is. I suppose it's probably about maybe about 3 inches wide. So I would go a little bit wider than that, but I needed something that was going to be absolutely positively going to fit any controller that I put in it. So that's why I went with a wider cradle, basically. And you're going to take the Dremel and you will basically score out your edges all the way around. You're not going to cut all the way through. However, I do suggest at the tighter parts of the smaller areas, such as where that lip is, that you do kind of try to go all the way through, because you're going to need to get your PVC saw and use that to cut out the rest. It keeps everything in good control. Basically just creating a groove for your PVC saw to line up with, and you can just effortlessly cut at it. It makes it go a lot faster. So please be very careful while you're doing this. Take your time. I can't stress that enough. I think I did stress it enough in my other video, but again, it's very serious. You're working with tools. You need to be patient and make sure that you don't rush and get yourself hurt, because that's the last thing I want for you. I think we're about to start here with the PVC saw, and you can see it just goes right through it. Very little effort. Of course, this is sped up. I say little effort compared to I don't know, maybe cutting down a tree. It's very little effort. But it's not that hard, and you can get this project done. I think probably at least the cutting and get it painted. You can get all that done in at least an hour, hour and a half. This design is good for all controllers. As you can see, the Xbox One fits in there perfectly. This section of the tutorial will cover the USB port install, the power port prep, and the custom paint job. I've marked a spot on the back side of my controller tower, and I am putting a pilot hole in here. And I'm about to cut this. After I cut all the way through with the pilot hole, I'm going to use a spade bit, the 13/16 spade bit, to cut halfway through the PVC so that I'm actually just making it a little thinner. I will not be completely drilling all the way through at the base. I am only cutting about halfway through. So that way I can successfully install my coaxial power jack, and then I can actually get the nut over the top of it so that it's in there secure and it's not going to wiggle around, when I go to plug it in. And once you've gotten about halfway through it, you're going to go ahead and get your dirty little fingers out of that hole. Now, go ahead and get your 3/8 drill bit and finish out cutting that center hole there. If you would like to put in a USB port, I chose to put mine on the top of the back side so that I could use it to charge up my Turtle Beach Z300. They have an internal battery that I can actually charge up. You're also going to need the 13/16 drill bit to go ahead and cut through, all the way through. Go ahead and cut it completely through. Big hole in there, and that's where that USB port is going to fit. I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the bottom, and when you do that, the pin and spring are going to come out. Now there's a top plate to it that you're going to unscrew, and you can just completely pull it apart. It's very easy, nothing gets broken. And this part here is the ground, okay? So we're going to have to, and that part there is the power. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove this ground part here, and we're going to ground our wire to the USB port. right at the bottom of it, and then we're going to connect our power to the motherboard on the side that that little piece is sticking into. Now, quickly, here's where the soldering comes in. So I wanted to get a close-up shot of how to put solder on a wire. So you get the solder wet on the tip, and you start by putting it on there and just kind of pulling away and using the solder in your hand to form the ball. So again, you just put it on, you can see it takes to it really easily. All you have to do is just kind of put the solder right up next to the wire. Very easy stuff, very easy stuff. Now you don't have to do it twice like that, you just need to do it once. I was showing you how easy it is to do it. So go ahead and solder up the pinpoint on the bottom of the USB port and the pinpoint on the bottom of the power part of the USB port as well. So we're going to take our black and white wire, and white is going to be our power and black is going to be our ground. So with our pre-soldered tips, we'll just get it wet and apply it, no problem. Now, there's a little bit more wire showing on the black than I typically like, but I wasn't too worried about it because it was encased in plastic. But I suggest trying not to get as much copper showing as I did there. This is a first run through of just getting it done so I could make this video for everybody. This was just an idea. I had it, I thought it would work, and lo and behold, it does. So go ahead and kind of bend your wires underneath of the USB port, like underneath on the bottom side. And then you will run that wire through where the pin and spring were originally in that USB port. You can see it just screws right back on. Very easy. Not hard. Go ahead and leave the faceplate off though, because we're gonna put this in the back of our tower, wherever you chose to put it. If you wanted to put it closer to the bottom so you could get your controller powered up with it, it works for that. It definitely does. So here's our USB port, and we're gonna go ahead and install it. It's very simple. You just pop it right in with that 13/16 hole. It is perfect. It just pops right into place. It's not going anywhere. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use a little acrylic and basically cover our seam around the USB. Alright, now you're going to take the faceplate part of the USB port and put a little painter's tape over that. And what you're going to do is you're going to use that so you can see exactly how big you need to cut out the circle that you're going to put over the USB, like actual port, so that way when you go to paint this, you don't mess it all up with the paint. Alright, now, assuming that you are a subscriber and that you're on my channel, if you're not, please go ahead and click subscribe. I've got a lot of good stuff to give you. such as how to go ahead and put on whatever design it is that you want, whether it's a cartoon character or a logo or something like that. I can show you how to do this. Make sure that you use keywords like shadow or silhouette if you're going to be using a character. If you're going to be using font logos and things like that, you want to make sure that actually all pictures, no matter what, you're going to want it to be in black and white, so that way it's just easier to cut out, because we're going to actually print this out and we're going to edit it using whatever programs that we have. I'm using Adobe After Effects, but not all of us have access to that. So you could use GIMP. That's a good program. I hear a lot of good things about it. So use whatever program you need to use to edit and get your picture to be black and white. And I'm going to show you how to do that with After Effects. It's a very simple thing, and I'm sure that GIMP would probably work similar in how to do this. So what you're going to do is you're going to find your picture, you're going to import that into, let's say, After Effects, because that's what I'm using. And we're going to go ahead and put that in our sequence that we created. That is a 1080p sequence, again. And make sure that you're centered with your logo, and kind of make it a little bit larger, which we'll get to all of that. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background from black, which is what I had it previously set to, using composition settings and clicking on the background color and making it white. It's just that simple, as white as we can get it. Now we're going to select our picture now, our photo, and we're going to go to Effect, Channel, and Invert. It's a very, very easy thing to do. Again, that's Effect, Channel, Invert. And you will be given something like this. This makes it very easy to print out, so you're not using up a whole lot of ink. That's the main purpose of doing this. So now what you're going to do is go ahead and add that to your render queue and select JPEG sequence, give it whatever name you need, and go ahead and save it to your desktop just so it's easy for you to access. All you need to do is print out after that, and you can discard that file. It doesn't have to take up space in your computer. You can just recycle that. And go ahead and render it. And now that we've got it printed out, what we're going to do is going to start off by removing these stickers and kind of sanding away some wrinkled paint. I'm going to go ahead and use the 220 grit sandpaper and sand that wrinkled paint off and get this ready for the decals, our stencil decals. So what we're going to do is, to make these, we're going to get a thick piece of plastic. A lawn and leaf bag would work, I suppose, if it's good and thick. You don't want to use just regular thin trash bags, just something good and thick. We're going to go ahead and secure down our logo. So now you take your blue painter's tape, and we're basically we're overlapping the pieces until it's big enough that we can see that the entire logo is going to fit on it. We have to make sure that that logo is fitting over it entirely. Make sure there's enough space around it and everything so that it fits in there perfectly. Around, so you have a lot of room that you can use to cut. Because now you're just going to use scissors, just like you did in art class back in 2nd grade, and you're going to cut out these little stickers. Now, I did it. It was very tedious what I chose to do, but I like to challenge myself, and I've been doing this for a while, so this is kind of font can be tricky. It really can. But I got through it, apparently, all the way down here to the letter H, and I'm almost done. So now we're going to go ahead and apply it. The way we do that is the plastic, as you can see, when you've been cutting it out, you've got this picture now that you've cut out, and you have plastic attached to the back of it. And so what you're going to do is peel it off like you would a sticker, and just apply it. Apply your decals, your stencil decals, to your headset stand, wherever you would like to do it. And I recommend printing out another, piece of paper, another logo or another picture, so that way you can kind of exactly get it the way it needs to be. It's basically a reference point. And take the time to make sure that those pieces are on there perfectly, because you only get one shot at this. So make sure that it's right. Make sure it's right before you go to paint. This is extremely imperative. And after it's all put on there, you can see that looks great. I'm about to hit it up with some white paint. And I'm doing this kind of thicker because this already has paint on it. So I'm just making sure that there's a good solid coat on there, and spinning it around, making sure to get down inside through the top. And again, just making sure that it's a good coat. You don't want it to be too thick. I'm actually moving rather quickly with my sweeps on that, and gonna go ahead and go over the bottom with some black and kind of give it a fade. I noticed that my angle on the base is downward, and that I'm a little bit closer. I'm about 6 inches away from the project pretty much all the time, because I want to put a heavier coat on. I don't want to put on, too many multiple coats, because again, I painted it once already. It doesn't need a whole lot of coats of paint. So I'm going back over the areas that I might have got a little bit too much black on, and kind of just feeling out what I'm doing. Now, again, after this dries up a little bit, I'm going to go back over the black with black to get rid of all that white. But while the white is still wet, I'm going to go ahead and remove all of those stencil decals. Because if you let it dry and you go to remove those decals, you're going to peel the paint off. So make sure to get in there while it's wet. If you need to use an X-Acto knife to kind of get under there, do that. Now, this is obviously for the USB install. So after our paint has dried and everything is solid and ready, we're going to go ahead and go inside the inside of the tower and wipe it all down. Make sure that it's all nice and clean, so that our LEDs don't fall off because they got a little paint dust on the adhesive. So I'm gonna get these LEDs. I'm doing a double controller set stand, so I'm going to use 3 strips of LEDs. If you're doing one controller stand, just use one, and I recommend putting it over the top of the controller, so that way it glows down onto the controller. Now I'm basically taking the black and white wire and looking to see where my coaxial power jack is in the port. It's a very easy thing to do. I didn't show you how to do that. Really, guys, if you need me to show you how to put an object through a hole, then you have no shot at procreation. I'm just saying. But once you've measured out about how long your black and white wires need to be to reach everything, go ahead and clip those with the wire clippers, and spread them apart. And as I showed you before, you're going to strip those wires down, and you're going to solder the tips. So again, very easy, very beginner, intermediate soldering skills required to do this. You just need to make sure that your contact points are connecting, and you should only have to go through this once. Again, it can be very frustrating, so please take a lot of breaks. If you start to get a little frustrated, just step away from it for a second and come back to it when you're a little bit more cooled off. So we're going to go ahead and apply the solder now and get this ready to actually install. And you can see that I'm taking my time making sure that I'm getting this correct. I strongly recommend that you do that as well. You don't want to get hurt. A soldering iron can definitely burn the holy God out of you. Don't let that happen. Again, you can go ahead and leave the opposite end alone. You don't have to connect the solder to it right now. But if you want to do that, after you've watched this video and you saw how I ended up doing it, if you would rather just do that now, you can go ahead and do that now. But we're going to go ahead and unwind the wire from our LEDs. Again, I provide a link for those LEDs, those specific ones. They come from New Jersey and not China, so they'll get to you really fast. It's about $4, I think, a little less than that. It's well worth it. So I'm basically figuring out exactly how long I'm going to need to make those wires so that they connect. I'm connecting all of the power stuff at one spot. So I'm making sure to measure I'm looking at the project and I'm putting the wire together. I mean, it's simple. You don't have to measure things to do this. You do not. All you have to do is just look at it, and it's very simple project.
Start over. We can make a new routine. We can start over. We can follow new life to the same thing.
Again, I'm measuring, trying to see exactly how much wire I'm going to need. I am clipping the wire using the X-Acto knife because the wire for these LEDs it's actually pretty flimsy. So we're gonna use the X-Acto to split the cable. X-Acto's a pretty handy thing. Now here's what I was talking about. You see, you just pull up and away. You brace it underneath something, and you just pull it back, and it comes right off. Very easy to just peel it right off of there. And I found that method much easier because, again, the wire is rather flimsy. Now I've got all three cables, all three LEDs ready to be connected, and so I'm going to take all the red wires and I'm going to connect all of them together, and I'm going to kind of twist that up to where they're all together. And I'm going to do that with both the red wires, and I'm going to do that again with the black wires.
We can start over. We can follow new life to the same damn thing that we
And we're just going to twist that, make sure that they're all together, and now we're going to go ahead and apply some solder to these points, so that way it's a quick and easy install. As you can see, pre-soldering your soldering points is the way to go. I'm sure you've noticed that I already have a black and white power cable installed in mine, but that was specifically just to see if my USB port was actually going to power up. So if that's something that you want to do, just to make sure that it is working and that you got those connections correct, now would be the time to do that, I guess. But I'm going to go ahead and apply the black and white wire that I'm going to end up using to power everything to the LEDs. So white goes to red and black goes to black. I'm now making the connection of ground to ground, which is black to black, and power to power, which is white to red. Again, black to black and white to red. Making sure that your connections are clean, that your solder doesn't cloud up. If you're noticing some cloudy solder, or if you're noticing that the solder is taking a good amount of pressure from you before it actually liquefies, then you have a dirty tip. No one likes a dirty tip, son. Go ahead and wipe that off. Alright, now, this is the inside. These wires that I'm putting solder on right now is actually the power cables from my USB port. So I'm going to go ahead and, as you can see, I've got them marked so that you can see which one is which. But of course, all you can see right now is my big fat thumb. I apologize. It's a good thumb. I've had it all my life. We're friends. Alright, so you can see my pre-solder on both of these wires, and all you have to do is just make the connection, touching the soldering iron to the solder, and it should connect with no problem. And giving it a little tug to make sure that it's there, installed. That's not going to pull off. And I'm going to get everything situated and get the ground wires where I need them to be. It's kind of a fight, I'm not going to lie. Kind of a pain because I'm working with so many wires. So I suggest this is the first time you're doing any of this, man. By all means, please. I mean, if you're going to go challenge yourself, this is definitely a challenging thing to do. And it will try your patience. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to take some hot glue and we're going to secure the wires right underneath the LED, securing the USB wires and the LED wires together and attaching it to the back of our project. And you can zip that down with a zip tie to kind of hold it in place while you hot glue it down. So that's what those are for. And you just remove the backing and you just stick them in wherever you want them to be. Yeah, and it's again, you can kind of feel out. You know, I mean, you can look at it and see how it you know, how straight it is. Get it as straight as you possibly can. I recommend that. You know, just kind of look at it very intently, like I am there, and make sure that you get it straight in there. And you know, it's again, all of this is so easy. It's just kind of a tedious job because you're working in such a confined space. So if you have great big hands, this isn't for you. This is where the kid comes in. He's gonna love this part. Perfect for him. Dad or mom or whoever you are and you're doing this project with your kid, good for you. Good for you. Again, I am securing down the wiring with both zip ties and hot glue. Alright, now we're at the bell drain part of our project. It's open, and we are going to secure our black and white wires down with a little hot glue so that they don't go nowhere. And here's our coaxial power jack waiting for the connection of the wire. So this is the part where I made it the length that I needed it to be, so that way there wasn't all this wire laying around inside there. Potentially you could hide the wire inside there if you wanted to, I suppose, but I like things to be kind of exact, so it made stripping the wire a little bit more difficult. As you can see, I'm having to use a pair of wire cutters and kind of basically just kind of cut it at the half point. I don't know if you can see how I'm doing this. Yeah, right here, yeah, you can see. I'm just kind of doing it halfway and getting that plastic part off of there, you know, the plastic part of the wire, the covering. And just kind of getting a small amount of the wire bare. And again, I'm going to pre-solder them. As you can see, I mean, it doesn't get any harder. It really doesn't. You know, you don't need a whole lot. And you notice there that my started having a little bit too much solder and it wasn't wanting to take. But there's enough solder on there that it will take down, or it will attach to the coaxial power jack, no problem. But basically, if you get a big blob of that stuff, you just wipe it off and try again. So now I'm going to go ahead and solder up our connection points. The center pin, this is actually the pin I'm touching now, is the ground. Okay. Now there are 3 points. One of those points is for a switch, but we're not interested in that right now. So this part right here is where we're going to get the power. So that one is going to be where the white wire connects, and the other one will be where the black wire connects. Now would be the perfect time to make sure that everything works. So go ahead and plug it in and watch your project light up and feel accomplished. Make sure your USB port is lighting up. If it's not, then you need to reconnect that. You need to go back in there and kind of undo some things. I hope that doesn't happen to you. Hopefully you took your time doing this as I asked you to, and you shouldn't have any problems. And if that is the case, you'll go ahead and take your black electrical tape and we're going to cover up the wires. Now later I'm going to go ahead and find some white duct tape and put it in there on where the white area is, and then, you know, if I want to get some black duct tape or Gorilla tape for the back of the black area there too. And you can see here my headset is connected and it is taking a charge. That is, red little red light there means it's taking a charge. Lights are on and it's charging. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Your freshly new, awesome, lit USB controller charging tower of power. Brought to you by Drumblanket and stuff. That was fun, right? That was a good time. Now, again, we've seen that it can hold a Xbox One controller, but here it is holding a PlayStation controller and the Xbox 360 controller. And I will see you in the next video.